Hello YouTubers, Troz here, and we're back playing Kerbal Space Program, but it's not quite the same Kerbal Space Program. Version 1.0 just came out, not 1.0, 1.1 just came out yesterday, and here I am playing it. Let's warp to next morning, which is now a nice little button right here. Basically, the major changes are it's now on Unity 5 and is now 64-bit by default. And the interface has basically gotten a really nice overhaul. We can still look around, and we can still point to parts of the Space Center and use them. But now they also have these nice little buttons with little lines pointing out what part of the Space Center it is. In fact, a lot of the user interface now has these nice little nut lines. I've only played it a little bit before making this video. There's also this nice KSpedia. Haven't looked through all this, but it tells you all about different things, and basically a lot of this is really nice. Made over UI, everything is now a lot more consistent. A lot of things are a little bit larger, like this time to me feels a bit bigger, as well as these time warp arrows up here. Navball looks a little bigger to me. There is a UI scale option in the options where you can scale things back down if they look a little big to you. But yeah, everything on the whole is really good. We got a few minor new parts, I believe. Let's go into the VAB. I've actually spent a little bit of time off camera here and worked on Minmus Returns, and that's a little weird. Getting a little X-ray effect there. I didn't notice that earlier. But basically, I've added another large cargo bay into the Minmus Returns, and I've done some quick measuring. We should not have a problem. We should have plenty of spare space to bring that tank back from Minmus. However, we had some trouble landing. We landed in the flats, but when we tried to get to the temperature reading place that's just off the flats on the edge of the hill, we were going to have trouble landing there whether we had a tall spacecraft or not. And now our spacecraft's even taller. So I have a solution for that. I had parachutes here. Hopefully they won't cause an issue. They do kind of act a little weird. But when we open these up, you'll see I've made a moon rover. It's got 4 wheels. And actually everything you need to get around a planet. It's got large solar panels, a few sets of small solar panels, a solar panel right on top that's always exposed. Got some large batteries for storing all that, and it's got at least one of every science instrument. We've got the gravioli, or that's the earthquake meter, that's the gravioli meter. We got pressure, we got temperature, we've got the ore surface reader, we've got the materials bay, and we actually have down here 2 goo canisters, one on each side, as well as we have a complete mini mining set. We got a mini driller, a mini ore tank, and a mini converter. We also have a fuel tank, and under here is an RCS tank. We have some RCS thrusters and some little hover thrusters, and we also have 2 fuel cells that will convert fuel into electricity. Fuel cells alone won't be able to power the converter equipment, but if we're going overnight, it will at least be enough to drive. Not quickly, but it'll be enough to drive, I believe. It will supply half the power we need, I think, for the tires, but if we put the back into drive and the front into steer, we should be able to go. And yeah, so we will deliver this to the surface of Minmus. I'm hoping the RCS will be enough to get this out safely without causing an issue. I mean, the gravity on Minmus is pretty low, but then we can drive this over and take the reading that we need. It has all the stuff, and then return the reading back to the station, or this can transmit it on its own. And then, so basically the plan is to land on Minmus, drop this off, and then go back into orbit, pick up the orange container, and bring it back to Kerbin. I think we forgot one thing. We'll just put full antenna up there. It's something I actually forgot on the last mission, but it turned out, hey, we didn't even get the science reading, and we're going to bring the science back anyway. But I like having an antenna just for, well, not just for show, but I mean, it's useful and it looks good. So, I think we're ready to go, so let's launch this, and we should hopefully be able to get to Minmus by the end of this episode. Here we are. Yeah, you can see, definitely looks like a bigger nav ball to me. Let's turn on SAS. Really, we only have a pilot? Let's revert that flight. Go back to vehicle assembly. And yeah, I did not check what we have here. You're going to take an engineer and a scientist as well. You know, we'll take all the engineers. We'll get one of the engineers to run the little rover, and the scientists can reset any of the instruments. But we'll probably be taking most of them back. We may leave the rover driver, whoever that turns out to be. Alright, let us launch. Alright, here we are on the launch pad. You can see things have changed here as well. Everything, to me, looks a little bigger. We got a bit of a bigger nav ball. There's only 2 people here. You can still scroll through them. You can actually remove a slot or add a slot. I'm thinking at least at this scale, they don't think there's enough space for a third Kerbal. There used to be 3 shown by default. But with the bigger nav ball and, well, let's turn on SAS. You got the SAS controls here. And if you set a maneuver node, there'll be maneuver node settings here. I think right now, at least at this scale, that would be too big for a third Kerbal to fit without stuff overlapping. I'm going to try playing with the UI scale for next time. Not sure what this... Oh. Had not noticed that before. Don't see what that does, but at least it is labeled. We have all our Kerbals here. Let's go set up the map. There's also some changes here as well. I played with this setting because I did do some testing initially, and it looked a little too dim to me, but I think, well, they've shaded the orbits. You can see there's a bright part and a dim part. The bright part is where that object just was, and the dim part is where it was there a lot longer ago. So basically that means, hey, the moon is orbiting in this direction, and this satellite is orbiting in this direction, and Minmus is orbiting in this direction. In KSP and actually in the real world, most orbits are counterclockwise if you're viewing them from above. This shading just helps illustrate that. Now, initially it had dimmed a lot more, but I reduced the dimming so the lines would show up better on the video. It basically almost faded out, but I think I reduced it a bit too much. I'm probably also going to play with that setting before next time. But we got our map view set up here over our launch site. Got the nav ball up. One other difference, and you can see here's they've moved. The controls used to be listed horizontally here and then pop below. Now they're on the side, and actually I think that works out a little better. You also have KSpedia available if you should need it. Let's move the camera back a bit and aim it down a bit. That aiming down is done by holding the mouse wheel down. And I think we're ready to go here. Let's throttle up. We got SAS on. 3, 2, 1. Lift off. Alright, we are going up. Let's start heading over maybe 10 degrees or so that when we do drop stages, they don't drop back onto the launch pad, and instead we'll hopefully drop over the water here. If I remember correctly, I need to throttle back a bit this craft, because otherwise the solid fuel would boosters would last longer than the initial liquid fuel stage, but with us dialed back a bit, that isn't an issue. I'm going to turn over a bit more now. I don't think the atmosphere has changed. I did do one test flight and it didn't seem that different to me, so that means we should still be close to 45 degrees by the 10,000 meter mark, which we're now actually over. But I want to stop maneuvering when we stage, which is going to be now. Alright, little tap there, that's okay. It only damaged the solid booster that we let go. I'm going to turn over now to 45. Don't want to get too far off of that node there. Alright, we're going to stage again. Alright, they came cleanly off. That's nice. Now we've lost half of our thrust, but we're doing fine here. Let's check the map. Oh, and we are doing quite well, actually, so I can turn over a bit more. I don't want to turn too far over. And 80 should be good. Now, we need to set up a maneuver here. It's going to be about a minute and 50 seconds ahead of us. So we have some time. Looks like we're rotating a bit as we go up. A little more than that. 78.84 is perfectly fine. Still in the atmosphere, but basically our wings or fins basically have no effect at this point because the air is so thin. So I'm just going to let it spin there. I could use RCS to stop that, but we should maybe complete a full spin. Actually, no, we're not going to complete a full spin before this burn. I'm going to use RCS to push us back. Still haven't skilled up a Kerbal enough to say face the target, but that's okay. Alright, that should be good, and we should actually be doing the burn now. So that actually kind of worked out right on time. Okay. Doing pretty good here. Just have about 10 more seconds left in this burn and we should be in orbit. Coming off the target there a bit. Oh, that was a little over. But that doesn't matter too much. We're 78 by 98. We are in orbit. Okay. Where is... There's Minmus. And in fact, Minmus actually is in a pretty good spot. It's coming down to where it crosses the equator, which is... We're in an equatorial orbit right now. So we should be able to catch it as it comes by and not need an inclination change. So actually let's first set it as target. You can see, yeah, that right there is the point where it crosses. So let's try to just add a maneuver here. And if we are lucky, we will get an intercept. Oh, there was something there, but right past it. And let's go back. If I did play around with one launch before making this video, and can we get... Yeah, there we go. Minmus periapsis. And now, using my mouse wheel here... Yeah, I right-clicked on that little flag, and it basically sticks around now. Using the mouse wheel, I can... Well... We had 400, or just 370. Let's see, can we... get that closer. 360. Well, I would like it like less than 100,000, but it's apparently very sensitive, and 350. Well, that looks about as close as we are going to get it. This is about a 900 meter per second burn in about 20 minutes now. I'm going to turn off SAS and then just use a little tap of RCS to get us rotating around to this maneuver to save monopropellant. Basically used quite a bit of it last time in capturing the fuel tank and I want to save as much as possible so that we can get all these things we want to do done, dropping off the little moon rover we have, getting the temperature reading, and then getting back into orbit, capturing the fuel tank, and bringing it back here to Kerbin. With SES, always tries to hold the position, so if you have it on while making an adjustment, it always will try to stop the rotation as soon as you let go of the keys. And that will obviously use up more RCS fuel. So by having it off, you can just do a tap of RCS, get yourself rotating, and then do another tap when you need to stop. And use very little RCS fuel or monopropellant. We actually have extra monopropellant because it's probably listing the monopropellant. Yes, it is in the in the tank. Why does it list 2? Now that's really weird. It was just. It's nice that they have these lines. The lines need a little work. Okay. Solid. Oh, we do have solid fuel. Those still have little separatrons on them. Should have just read their label. Those aren't heat shields. We have a heat shield under here. We have... Or maybe am I... Oh, the heat shield is under there. Now they're showing only one. I was misinterpreting these struts as the lines. If I say monopropellant. Okay, there is one monopropellant tank here, but there should also only be one up here. However, now that I'm thinking about it, this has a small monopropellant, and so does the capsule in our cargo bay. So that's where the other labels are coming from. Alright, that's enough playing with the new UI. Let's warp to next maneuver here. We can do that just by clicking here. And we're close enough to our aim point that being a minute out won't be a problem. Looks like we will, though, be on the night side. Oh, there we go. Do have some lights here. Actually not sure. I think I might not have put any lights on the little rover I built. That's probably something I should have done, but that's alright. Alright, I'm just using our reaction wheels. Actually, we probably do have 2. Again, one in the cupola module here, and now one in the little pod on the rover. So that will help us get around a little better. Looks like we need to start the burn about 13 seconds to the node. And that should be good. Kind of lined up there decently, I think. I'm gonna start the maneuver, but then switch to map view because... Alright, let's start that now. That was a pretty sensitive alignment there, and we don't want to miss it too much. Whoop. In fact, I'm going to throttle down, starting now. And let's get on that node. So yeah, that is traveling out really quick. Throttle way down and get ready to cut. Okay. I cut it off, but it's showing us as missing. Let's turn on RCS, and I think it said we were like 2 meters per second, so I am firing the RCS thrusters to slow down. Meanwhile is maneuvering us kind of... Ooh, do we have an encounter now? Let's get that. 3, 2, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Yeah, we're basically going over Minmus right now. To get closer, we'd have to do a little inclination change, because basically the lined up inclination is over here, and we're going to meet it just after. But that's okay. That will actually put us in a polar orbit. And we should be able to change our inclination if needed to reach the landing site. Oh, and there comes the sun. Which reminds me, I should probably extend the solar panels at this point. I mean, we've been using our engines to generate power, and we have some pretty big batteries on the rover. Yeah, but we are now generating plenty of power off these solar panels. And I think we're gonna get to the Minmus encounter and then call that an episode. So let's time warp here a bit. Goodbye, Minmus. Goodbye, Kerbin. We're headed for Minmus. There goes the moon as well. Headed off towards the sun. Oh, and there is Minmus. We're gonna come up above its orbit, and at that point our orbit will be very slow, and Minmus will catch up to us. And yeah, here we go. You can see, map-wise, you see the that fade effect again. Probably actually even speed this up a bit more. There is Kerbin. And there is Minmus. Just above my mouse pointer. And you see our orbit is slowing way down. It's probably may even get below 100 meters per second as we turn around and fall back towards Kerbin. But before that happens, Minmus should... Alright, yeah, we're gonna speed this up. There's Minmus. Alright, yeah, we are actually down near 50 meters per second. You can see Minmus is coming closer. And... yeah, there, it automatically slows down to 50x warp whenever you change spheres of influence, which we are about to do in, well, 12 minutes, so let's just speed up here a bit. And there we go. So, here is now our orbital path relative to Minmus. We're going to be coming out pretty far from it, even though, I mean, we're pretty far right now, but we don't get that close. But if we add a maneuver here and slow down a bit more, you can see our orbital path is beginning to curve. And there we go, into Minmus orbit. Not exactly polar, but pretty close. Okay, there's the... We can actually double-click. I said we can actually double-click. Well... It used to be able to double-click to switch focus. And so instead of on the ship, it would be on Minmus itself. There's where we need to take the temperature reading, and I know that's close to where our station is. It looks like that may be under our path, but we still have a few hours to get there, and then once we're in orbit, it's going to take some time. So that might rotate out of position. But once we're in orbit, we can do a few orbits, and it should rotate under us again if it isn't there when we're ready. So we can do a landing, but that will have to be next time. So I'd like to say thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time with some more Kerbal Space Program, now in 1.1. Thanks for watching.